see, I was in the ATC, and this was kind of a, we all would wind up there sometime. It depended on how much they needed us where, but it was the thing in the future that was there, and we just didn't know when. And I was happy where I was at. They didn't have to send me over there.
It was the Air Transport Command.
Yeah. What did I say?
ATC.
Oh, well. Some funny guys always said it was allergic to combat. That's not true. And I think I told you about that Alaskan run, the places that we went. Did you get that on tape?
Probably not.
Okay. We would fly from Gorefield to Great Falls, Montana, up either Calgary or Edmonton we'd stop at, and then Grand Prairie, then I've forgotten, there's Fort Smith and Fort St. John, but I think Watson Lake is right in between two of them, all beautiful places, and the scenery is just unbelievable. It was so pretty. And then on up to Whitehorse. That was the one I couldn't think of about. And that was, I went into town one time, and that was like an old western town that you see, Dodge City, you know, muddy street and the board sidewalk. And then that was our last stop, and then we would go on into Fairbanks. And that was a very most enjoyable part of my time in the service. I loved doing what I was doing, but they don't leave me alone. And they, I was a flight leader, and they said that all flight leaders would be frozen on the on that run for the duration of the war, which made me happy, very happy. That's enough.
Oh. This one or the other one?
Let's sleep good tonight.
And about 2 months after they told me that, I had had twin engine time and transport time. They decided this was time to send me back to St. Joe to check out and C-46s and then go overseas flying out. So Mom and Timmy came back to St. Joe. This was Mom's second stint in St. Joe. She loved the town.
Grandma Ride helped me. Timmy was 6 weeks old.
Wow.
And we had her in a carrier. No disposable diapers at the time. So, all flannelette. In our room in the hotel, I don't know what we strung up, but I'd wash out diapers and hang them up to dry. And it was a mess. Didn't get to see too much of you. You were on flights all over, in and out. And then I guess my mother stayed just a few days and went back. Then you got leave, and the three of us went back to Cleveland for Christmas.
That was 44.
Yeah, 44.
And then
I left just before New Year's for Nashville again. My second crack at Nashville. This was all of the C-46 people. They got them all together with all your equipment and then shipped you over. And let's see, how did we go? By way of someplace in Florida. We stayed overnight, and that was my first idea that, gee, I like this Florida. There was January summer. Oh yeah, the weather was beautiful, and I didn't realize there was something better than Cleveland, Ohio.
In January.
So we flew down.
To old San Juan.
Yeah, we were at Berinkwood Field in Puerto Rico, and stayed overnight. Took off the next morning, and we lost an engine. And I wasn't flying; I was a passenger. And they burned out the engine. They evidently didn't cut the engine off. It was let a windmill and burned the whole engine out by the time they got it back down. And so they had to send to the States for a new engine, and that took a month. I was in heaven. That was my second. If I could have only had Mom come down for a month and a nice vacation.
Gladly.
Had golfing, beautiful Olympic pool there, real beautiful. Officers Club, they got Cuba Libras for a nickel a piece. You know, it was just great. Climate, nice. And for 30 days, that vacation was the greatest I had with the in the service. And then we finally got our engine. We went down to, there was another stop, but finally we got down to town, was it? Town. I think so. And from there,
To Ascension.
Ascension, yeah. See?
Your co-pilot here.
And Ascension was just a spot way out in the Atlantic just before you get to Africa, and you had to hit that rascal. We couldn't go much farther than that, and hit it right on the nose, no problems. And then flew down, well, the northern part of Africa. It sort of protrudes out there, and we flew the coast right into what they call the Gold Coast of Africa. And stayed there one night, no, a couple nights, because I remember we were surfing, trying to surf, and could get
Playboys.
Yeah. Doesn't sound so bad, you know, what we're hearing here.
And up
you
to
know?
this point, it was real fun. And could get pineapples from the natives. I don't know where they got them, but they take a big knife and just chop all of the trimmings off it. You have a beautiful pineapple to eat. Then somewhere in Saudi Arabia.
Where they told you, do not look at the women.
Yeah, good caution there about looking at the women, that you get in a lot of trouble.
Still do.
Yeah, they haven't changed. And then on over to Karachi, India. And there we spent probably about 3-4 days till they decided which base along, in the Assam Valley you go to fly down. And the fellows I was with, no two of us went to the same one. But anyway, we did get into town one day, and it was a surprise in my life. I'd never seen anything like this in my life. How people roamed around the street. They just did their daily duties wherever they wanted to. Some of the people were naked, and some were so dirty and diseased, some without limbs, animals roaming all over. Being a naive boy from the Midwest, this was a shocker to me. anyway, from there, it's classified to go to Super King. I think there was about 5 bases of C-46 pilots. We were the one that was the furthest, right at the foot of the hump.
Oh.
And I spent lovely months there. And
Yeah. And you've been back so often.
yes. Right had taken us on vacations, and one was where Bill was based, one where Lou was based, and he said, we're not going where Roy was based. And in fact, they do have trips through the hump pilot that you can go over there and even fly the hump.
Wow.
And oh boy, I couldn't wait to
Yeah.
vacation.
Yeah. Send me a ticket and I'll
Yeah.
send it back.
I have a buddy that his wife went on it, but he refused to go.
Don't blame him.
No, I don't either. I talked to him on the phone, and I said, good for you, I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
God,
Enough
it's
is
a good place.
Enough is enough.
But Betty enjoyed it.
But, experience. It's something that you wouldn't want to do again, but it's something that, you know, in my mind, nobody else has done it.
Yeah.
Other people have, but, you know, nobody in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Experience. Had bailouts. That was an experience. And one time we were hearing rumors that there was some sort of bomb that the United States had that was going to really blow up the Japanese. We didn't know what it was or anything, but I happened to be flying one day and over the radio heard it didn't happen in the same flight, but the one flight heard about the bomb, and then it was another flight just a short time after I heard that the Japanese had surrendered.
Mm.
So I finished my flight. I was going to Kunming. I turned around and came back, and boy, I'm going to celebrate now. It's all over. And got back to the base, and here all the people, pilots that were on the base were celebrating, and they were really hiring a kite. The CO, he was hacked off because this stuff still has to go across that rock pile. There's people over there depending on you for food and supplies.
Yeah.
So I had to turn around and go right go over it again. And then shortly after, I did fly it for about another month, and then the communists started stealing, not stealing, when our planes would land and go in to unload, why they'd come out with machine guns and take all.
Confiscated.
So we stopped flying the hump, and time to go home, and you had to wait you had to have so many points to go home, depending on your service time, how long you were overseas. And they had a lot of different criteria. I wasn't talking to you. I would thought you were going to do that.
You're looking for a spot? A cozy spot?
Just don't touch that sofa or you're gone yet.
Ooh, it's a no-no, huh?
Yeah.
Right there, where the tail curls. That way. Well, how are we gonna do
Hey,
this?
let's,
So I was home, writing a letter every day,
looking
I
for
did-
islands
I
in the
did
middle
have
of the Atlantic.
I did have the time.
But I did keep all of Dad's letters, and we get them out every once in a while.
Oh.
Have them in a book.
Anything we can read?
I think so. They went around the whole family, no matter what was in them.
Like Lackanucky.
I found out what you were talking about.
So how was, you didn't, Dad spend much time with Timmy, what, her first year?
No,
Hardly saw her at all, right?
she was only about 8 weeks, about 8 weeks old when she went out overseas.
Mm.
Wait a minute. About 6 months. 5 months old.
Okay.
So I didn't see her until she was about 17 months old.
So is it true that she was the orneriest of the three of us?
Like, first one always is.
The last one gets spoiled.
Oh, that's not true at all.
I knew you'd deny it.
I think we did a good job of not spoiling anybody.
I agree. I know Barb would protest that.
I'm sure.
That's tough, Barb.
She was the middle one, and that's the bad one. You don't get anything when you're the middle one.
And let's see. Came home, we had to live with my folks because there were no apartments available. Nothing had been built for 4 or 5 years. Bought our first home. Paid $8,900.
I think it's 98.
9,800.
10 grand for a house? Things have changed a bit.
Yes.
What was our monthly payments?
We had a 4% loan, and our monthly payments was either $54 or $56 a month. Barb has our book. We kept records of everything, even up to whenever we mailed a letter and there's a 3-cent stamp involved. It
I
showed
remember
there.
seeing that, yeah.
Even her birth, when we paid the hospital, I think it was $83. We didn't have any insurance, so $83. I didn't like the house, and I didn't like my job. So we decided we were going to sell everything and move to Florida. And we swapped our furniture on a house trailer. Off we went.
How big was it?
It was about 21 feet. 2 kids, not knowing where we're going to land.
You just knew you liked Florida.
We got out of Cleveland, and I had helper springs on the car to keep the weight evenly distributed. And I don't think we got more than 50 miles from home, and the doggone helper spring slipped, and boom, we were clamping along, and I had to get under the car and fix that. And then the first night we got to Pittsburgh, wasn't it Pittsburgh?
Just off the
And
turnpike.
it was snowing and blowing and cold. And we had never used the heater, didn't know how to do it. So we stopped at a gas station and we plugged in for the night. And we had lights. And I couldn't get the fire started.
Heater.
Yeah. And you know, the kerosene was not running into the burners to ignite. And it finally occurred to me that we were at an angle like this, and I had to be level. So I got out the car jack and I jacked up the side of our home, and finally got that going. Boy, we had been a miserable night. And Barbie was only what? She was about a year, not quite a year old.
Oh, we left right after Christmas before the first birthday.
Wow.
Florida, lived in that trailer till May. And it was still seasonal in Florida. And we arrived after the season had started. So Roy's cousin got Dad a job at the laundry where he worked. And I don't know how long were you there, not too long.
Oh, I didn't work there too long. I got a job with Borden after that. But I worked at the laundry 7 days a week from dawn, and I never saw the daylight. You know, you go there to Florida, the beaches and sunshine.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see any of this stuff. And all for $50 or $55 a week.
Wow.
And I was working 12 hours, about 60. It must have been about 70 hours I was putting in a week. And then Borden's called, and I worked for them. They were pleasant to work for, but you know, it was hard in Florida to get ahead. And I can remember saying to Mom, we'll never get these girls educated with the money I'm earning down here. So, and we talked to Grandpa Wright, and at Fairmont they had this new department. He called it the box lunch department. They had 30 trucks, and he said if you would want to start there, we'll get you a job there. So I worked inside for a while. My first job was sorting pop bottles.
Hey, mine was too.
That's the way you get ahead. You gotta start on the ground floor.
Sub-basement.
Yeah. And I worked that job for a while, and I substituted for the manager's job when he went on vacation for ordering for all the routes. And then just after he got back, one of the route men didn't show up. And so I loaded up the truck. Somebody handed me a money changer and $30 and the route book, and says, okay, take it. And it was on the east side of Cleveland, and I never knew the east side too well. But I made a few stops that day and didn't know how to add everything up in a hurry, and I was probably giving half the merchandise away.
No wonder you're so popular.
Yeah. They was glad to see the other guy had quit.
Hey everybody, Roy's here! Come on!
So that was my start in the catering business. Eventually moved up to relief man, then supervisor. And they were trying to get ideas all through Fairmont. And they had a contest, all the Fairmont plants. So I started studying the situation. We weren't making our own sandwiches or donuts. We bought all this stuff. And the only thing that we made was the milk, it was a dairy, and we made the coffee. So I wrote up a plan on how we should have our own commissary and how much money we would make by making our own sandwiches. And I won $250. I won a
Whoa.
contest. So,
That's about an extra month's salary right
yeah.
there, huh?
And so the Detroit manager, Detroit wasn't in good shape, and he decided he wanted this catering business there too. And I think because I got some publicity on this thing, that I was chosen to go to Detroit. Chosen isn't exactly the word.
Instructed?
I'm looking for. I don't know if that was a good idea. All I know is I paid my dues in the catering business right then and there. 3 years of it.
From scratch.
Yeah.
You developed, what, 15 routes?
I built 15 routes in 3 years, and I started out by making the sandwiches, making the coffee, making the soups, loading up the truck, taking it out, and selling it and building routes. And these were long hours, and I was probably through about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and some of these other sales managers, they thought, boy, this guy goes home at 3 o'clock, what a soft job. Here I've been working all night long. Anyway, it got to the point where they weren't paying me what I deserved to be paid. I visited Dick Kearns in Dayton, Ohio, and then he'd come up to see me, see what my operation was, and he offered me a job, go down to Dayton. And I talked to Grandpa about it, but he talked me into staying. He said, oh, you know, they know who you are and you're doing a good job. You better stay with Fairmont. So I talked to my boss in Detroit. I told him I wasn't getting enough money for what I've done. He said, you're right. He said, you get $50 right away. 6 months you get another 50. This is a month. You know, they were very generous. So they gave me the $50 a month, but 6 months later, they didn't give me the other 50 they promised. So I didn't ask them. I just called Dick Kearns in Dayton and said, is that job still open? So he said, yes. And I said, no, it's not open, but I'll open it. So we went on to Dayton. And I went first. I was there a week. Just kind of getting used to everything. Mom was still back in Detroit. And came back, get her, and I had rented an apartment, and she says, I'm pregnant.
Oh, Danny boy.
You're a Michigander.
No, she was worried. I know she was worried about it. I said, no, everything's going all right. Fine. So, and by the time you were born, we found a house out in Trotwood. That's where you spend all your growing years.
My youth,
Yeah.
which Edna will get to see
Gonna
for the
take her-
first time this coming summer.
Heard so much about.
Yes, so much to see.
It
Don't
has changed.
Yeah, so I hear. Well, what are some of the things that you remember about the kids and their growing up? The good and the bad.
There you go. You can handle it.
Especially about Timmy and Barb. We can leave me out of this. I think it's pretty much public record what, literally public record.
Really? Oh, let's see. Can't remember that, they were fairly close, 2.5 years apart. So, did most everything together. And, I remember when we went to Florida in the trailer, just got down to St. Pete, and both came down with the measles, and you're in this 21-foot trailer, and they're sick, vomiting all over everything, and you had to sign up